Right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My guest is someone that came out of Straightway. He came with his family at a preteen age. They were there for a few years. They came to be a part of the church aspect of it, not the rehab or anything. But I would say definitely saw some stuff during that time. He is here to tell his story and how they got out. Welcome, Scotty.
Hello there. Thanks for having me, Cece.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Just been spending a lot of time with my family, and my brother is going to be married next month, or actually in 2 weeks. So my family's just getting geared up for that and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Everybody's getting married off, having kids. Can't believe it.
Yeah.
So our families are kind of good friends. I'm really good friends with your two older sisters, and your parents live across the street from my sister. So it's all been kind of close since we all left, I guess.
Yeah, especially like seeing like our nieces and like nephews like grow up, and it
For
has
sure. Yeah, it's like, man, if you just start to notice, you start to get older. I mean, you look like a grown-ass adult. It's crazy.
Syria, I'm gonna be 30 next month. Isn't that crazy?
Shut up. Where is time going?
I remember when I
You
was
were just
and
you
I
were
would
like,
see you at the bar and you would be like, "Oh my God, you're so little to be here." And I would be like all embarrassed, like, "Oh my God," like, but it's funny looking back at it now,
yeah. Well, you were like kind of like a little brother to me over, back
Yeah.
in the day. So I mean,
You
we
let me
traveled.
wash your car for like $5. $5 for the inside, $5 for the outside. That money was good,
I paid you $5.
Yeah. And that was a lot to me. I didn't know at the time how much that was. So
Well, granted, I was getting $50 a week. So
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is
So
too
your
funny.
$5 plus whatever per diem on the Straightway team, I could save myself. That was how I managed for a couple of years.
Yeah.
A
Oh
latchkey
my
kid,
gosh. That is too funny. Well, why don't we just get started? Your family, so you guys came to kind of be in the church part of everything, and like I've said before, people have come to in different aspects, whether it was going through the rehab part, coming as young kids or whatever. But y'all came to actually be a part of the church part of it. And you were, how old were you?
10 whenever we started regularly attending the church services, and then I was 12 when we moved out to Hungerford.
Okay. So what did y'all think, like, the first time our church services were kind of outrageous because they would just last forever. And then you had like the song of the Lord. What did y'all think the first time y'all ever came to a service?
Yeah, so that's when little red flags to me started popping up, seeing everybody get slain in the spirit, just like one by one. It was like David walks by, touches you, and then you just faint over and lie on the ground for 10 minutes. But see, I had only ever experienced that once in my life in our old church. And I guess it seemed like it was legitimate. Like one of my friend's dad was overcome in deep prayer, and he just lost control of his legs, and it felt like it was genuine. But when we started attending services there in Hungerford, it was like everybody's falling over and laying on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was weird. And then the long services were like 5 to 6 hours long, and the song of the Lord just went on forever. And they would like pressure you into like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just would have to sit there and listen to everything. But I mean, at the same time, those early years, we got to meet a lot of genuinely interesting and good people that, are like you, are just still a part of our life. So in that aspect, like, it was cool just like getting to meet a whole another group of talented, bright, happy people, at least at first, that was what it seemed like.
Well, yeah, that's you would never think something is a cult at first. And like I've said before, people don't join somewhere, you know, thinking it's a cult. And you guys obviously saw something from the outside looking in that was good, and so
Mhm.
wanted to be a part of it. But yeah, we haven't really talked about the slain in the spirit kind of thing, which means you go up and get prayer. Some churches do this that are like more charismatic, but you go up and get prayer, and the pastor or elder lays their hand on you, and you either fall back or you don't. But what they would do is they would push you back. And you're like, if I don't fall back, like, and sometimes the pastor would be like, I've got to remember, it was just so hard. Like, speaking in tongues, you know, like.
Yeah, a lot of that.
Oh,
The song of the Lord, though, was just, I remember thinking it was like improvised church karaoke. It was bizarre. Like, the kingdom is advancing. Bum, 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 bum. I have the joy of the Lord. I have the joy of the Lord. I have the joy of the Lord. It just was, a bunch of that.
yeah, for sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah, just from the outside looking in, y'all as kids, y'all probably thought, what in the heck did we get into?
Yeah.
Did you guys, so moving in there, you guys move on campus and everything on the actual site in a trailer there?
Yeah, look, thankfully Troy's family was able to bless us, and we moved into their mobile home. They moved into Wharton, so very grateful for them helping us out during that time.
Mm-hmm. Were you, I can't remember, did you guys homeschool or go to public school?
The first year, me, my older sister, and my younger brother went to public school there, Wharton. It wasn't until that very next year, 2005, where I joined the Straightway and I started homeschooling.
Yeah. So did you start seeing any red flags kind of before that, or was it just kind of as you started getting older?
No, there were plenty of red flags early on. I mean, specifically with my older sisters, my sister started dating another young dude in the church, and they had my parents' blessing, and it was just normal teenagers dating. But DK just like needed to be in control of that, and early on, he started trying to control my sister's relationship and like asking around and seeing how far they've gone, and a bunch of just inappropriate questions. And so my sister told my dad about that, and he was pissed. I remember he walked out into the cow field on his cell phone, his little flip phone, and he was like yelling at DK, like, you crossed the line, this is my family. And surely enough, after that, all of his kids, like they weren't allowed to hang out with us. So even like some of the younger ones were told not to hang out with me. And it was really weird because before we moved there, we had spent so many years getting close with them and going on vacations, and our families really did get close. And all of a sudden we moved there, and within just a few short months, like, we're just cut off, and they don't want to be close and cool anymore. And that was initially a big red flag.
Do you think that it was because your dad was kind of calling DK out a lot and he wasn't scared to stand up to him or anything?
Exactly, because he didn't go through the program. He was never involved with that side of the organization. We were brand new to this, and it was exactly it. He didn't like him, stand up, back up to him. And
which nobody is, if you know how they are there and the way they are, like, nobody ever would stand up to him. And if you did, like your dad did, it was like, you're out of it. You're out of, you don't know what you're talking about. DK is the descendant of King David,
Oh my goodness.
The Lord's anointed.
Your sister's ex-husband, he had this like tape recording once, and I was in the office doing some computer stuff, like editing, and somehow I stumbled upon that tape recorder of him talking about like how he's a descendant of King David in the Bible, and which essentially he's related to Jesus, and just like, what? That was, I don't know.
Wait,
That
what
was,
was this? What was this recording of? What do you mean?
it was like a tape recording, like a session of, like a counseling session or something. And
Okay.
in that session,
Oh my
he's,
God.
in passing, talking about how he's the descendant of, King David and the Israelites and blah, blah, blah,
Oh
blah.
my God. Well, Scotty, I just think we're just all wrong here. We need to bow down to this DK
Yeah.
and being a descendant and everything.
So some other early red flags during the church services, I noticed asking for forgiveness was like a regular thing. So it's like kind of like how Catholics have to atone for their sins and verbally ask for, it kind of felt like that. Like people were just doing stuff and they would come to you asking forgiveness and they almost put it all on you. It's like, if you don't ask forgiveness, now you're the sinner and you're the one with the problem and causing this to perpetuate. And I just thought that was so bizarre. Like,
Yeah, you had to put your sins before the body of Christ. They called it, confess one to another and you shall be free. That's what the scripture says. And they took it by heart. You had to get up in front of everyone. So, I mean, I remember getting up. I got up before and asked, what's forgiveness for the dumbest shit, I wasn't babysitting enough. They're all their freaking kids.
yeah,
Or something to the extent. But anytime they got up, it was like very vague. Like, what are they talking about? And
yeah,
they're freaking having affairs and stuff,
exactly.
So you guys are living there kind of homeschooling or going to public school, but you soon start traveling on the road. Now, real quick, I've vaguely gone over this, and I'm going to do another episode talking a lot about this part of the of what Straightway was, but it was called Straightway Drug Prevention. And basically, there was a team of about 20 of us. So we would go into schools and churches and do assemblies and stuff using song, dance. It sounds kind of cheesy now, but song, dance, rap, comedy, drama, speaking, just all kinds of stuff. So you started traveling with us and started doing sound stuff, right?
Well, it was the summer before when they had the Straightway camps. Do you remember the camps? And
Yeah.
that was in that time I was doing like the improv and acting workshops. And I guess that was just like how I got noticed, or I don't know. But yeah, all of a sudden, I had the invitation to join the team. And yeah, on the team, it was mostly sound stuff, but during like elementary schools and like churches and stuff, there was more acting and improv comedy and stuff like that. So
You guys did you do the story with Wes?
yeah.
I feel like I had pictures of that and I cannot find them. Probably one of the many pictures that were stolen from me.
Oh,
Yeah. But yeah, you guys used to do, oh my God, you would make the little kids laugh
the haunted
so
house, right? That
yes,
was
yes. So you guys would do this like little drama thing we would do elementary through high school, but this was for elementary age. And so these little kids, you would just have them laughing their butts off, but it was called the haunted house story. And you and Wes together were just hilarious. But yeah, that was like some of what was going on there. But yeah, so during this time, I mean, we would travel sometimes for a month at a time, for a week or 2 weeks at a time and stuff. And one of the leaders, she was one of the main leaders. She was in charge. She was a what would you call it to us girls? Like
director, maybe team leader.
Yeah, she was a director, but she was like a mentor to all of us girls and everything. And at the time, definitely looked up to her and everything, thought that she was doing the will of God and just all this stuff. But little did we know, we were so naive then, little did we know all the background stuff that was really going on. So yeah, I don't know if you want to kind of.
Yeah, well, no, she was the one that initially was the one that made me the offer. She was the one that, I don't know, seeking talent for the next crop of youngsters to join the team. She was the one that made the offer. And I actually really, at the time, appreciated that because I don't, I'm like, was the only person in my family that did any acting or anything like that. So to them, that wasn't really as important of a quality or a thing to be involved in. But that was what interested me, was that everybody on this team was so talented and just ready to, I don't know, just express themselves, whether it was rapping or dancing or acting. And so, yeah, she was the one that made me the offer. And then every now and then she would come and travel with us, because, you know, there were two teams. And so I think y'all were primarily on the A team. I was on the B team.
Did you start? Wait, but you started when it was A and B team?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so we got so big at one time that we had our A and B team. And we were, I know, when me and Hannah were on the freaking B team. It was, I don't know why they did that, but yeah. So
well, the family, it was mostly all the family on the A team. They kept the family all together on the A team. And I think you and one other person were on the A team. And then they kept the others on the B team.
They would they would kind of switch off some. But how old were you when you started traveling with us?
13. Way too young. Way too young. Should have stayed in school. If anything, if I look back in my life and have any regrets, it's that I should have just stayed in school, because when I got to 9th grade in high school, I definitely was behind, and it was noticeable, and it was hard to catch up. So yeah, I was 13 when I started in 2005.
Were you doing schoolwork on the road or anything?
Yeah, I was. Everybody else had laptops where they were doing it. I had these like booklets. I don't know how.
We had.
I had these booklets, but here's the deal. I also had the teacher's guide with all the answers. Nobody was really supervising my homeschooling. So if it came to certain things, like, I would cheat and use the teacher's guide. So
we did have, that's right. We had some answer keys going on.
Yeah.
So do you kind of want to explain what's some of the things that started happening on the road? And I guess maybe the first time, I don't know.
I just noticed, you know, you got a team full of youngsters, a bunch of teenagers to early 20-year-olds. And, you know, we were all close and we were cool. Like, I think we all got along and trusted each other. But there was this weird controlling thing about not dating on the team or not fraternizing. The guys and girls could not get too close. And that was really weird, because that just was not I did not think that was a normal thing outside the center, you know, because I wasn't from there. And so me and one other girl on the team fell asleep listening to her iPod, because iPods were brand new. We had our heads on a pillow with listening to music on the iPod, and we both got chewed out because, you know, we were close and we fell asleep with our heads on a pillow near each other. Like, thought that was dumb. And so just that controlling nature of you know, keeping everybody separate. But then when what's her name, the leader of the team, would come on the road with us, and she was significantly older than all of us. Like,
wasn't she like in her or
like 30, at least 30 at the time. So she was at least like 15 to 16 years older than me.
Okay. Oh wow. That is okay. That's a little bit older than I thought. Okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, but I just noticed how she would act around the guys. You know, everybody's being told you can't flirt, you can't be close and cutesy and cuddly. But then she comes around and she has free reign to be holding our arms and holding our hands and cuddling and being all close and kissy and just really weird stuff. And I know I wasn't the only one. Like, I saw it with other some dudes older than me, some, you know, around my age. And it was noticeable when she would come and like hold my hand or like hold my arm and like walk with me as if she's like my girlfriend or anything. And keep in mind, I never even kissed a girl at the time. Like, I am young, like I'm a child. And so just a bunch of stuff like that. And then there was this one time we were at this Presbyterian church in like Prairie View or somewhere in Texas, Longview, I don't know. And we were doing a training, and I'm pretty sure you were there. And so we're in the middle of the training, we're having lunch, and the church has this like cafeteria lunch line. And so I'm in line, and like there's other church people around us also, and she's right next to me, ahead of me in the line. But then some music came on, and then she just starts like dancing up on me, like really, really like grinding and like close and like twerking on me, and like, whoa, like this. And there's like, it's almost like hiding in plain sight. Like there's people everywhere, and she's like extremely close to me. And like anybody who saw that had to have scratched their head, because we're also the people putting on this training, you know, the other people had to wonder. Of course, my mindset at the time was, oh yeah, I'm the boss, you know, like, like I don't know any better.
Yeah.
But that, I remember thinking like, you know, she's this single woman. And around that time, I would hear whispers around the center at the campus about her and one of the other elders in the church who was married, that they had a thing, or it was so hearsay, you know, he said this, she said that. So I never really knew, but I would hear things, and here she is being all like flirty and close with me and really inappropriate. And then, you know, asking for back massages and just weird stuff like that. So I definitely know I wasn't the only one. There was this one time we were at a hotel, we had a pool in a hotel, and a few of us, me and one of the dudes my age, we're gonna go to the pool. We knocked on the girl's door, like, hey, we're gonna go to the pool if any of y'all want to come. She was the only one that came and showed up. And so we're in the hot tub, and she's just like really, really close to me. Like for all of us being in like swimsuits, like extremely close to me. Like her legs are like touching my legs, and like her hands are just like all over me. And like, I mean, it was at that point where, because I had common sense, I knew right from wrong. I wasn't raised at the center. I had a good, loving family. And that was when it was like, that's when I felt like things had crossed the line. Because before it was just like, oh, you know, whatever, we're dancing, music, because we all were just crazy like that. And that was when I felt like she crossed the line, was having her like legs and her hand like on my like leg. And it was just way too close, you know, especially for that age difference, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Did it ever go, I don't know if it's okay to ask this, but did it ever go any further than that?
There was this one time I thought she was gonna kiss me, that she was like really close to me, like almost holding, like holding each other. And I guess I didn't think that was weird, because I would see her be all cutesy and cuddly with other dudes on the team that were even a little older. So I just thought, I don't know, maybe these people are just close like that. But yeah, she's just like looking me in the eyes, like giving me that look. And I was thought, like, is this gonna happen? Like, is this woman gonna kiss me? So just that sort of tantalizing nature of not crossing the line, like barely walking the line of, you know, so even that, you know, that's, you know, lewd behavior with a minor, you know.
And especially you being only like 13, 14. I mean, was this lasting? Like, did this kind of go on throughout the years, or was this just like kind of a 1-2 time thing? Not that it matters really, but it's, I mean,
yeah, I would say it kind of stopped when I left the Straightway team. So, like a bunch of drama happened in the church, and people started leaving, and there was just a bunch of stuff going on, and just weird stuff. You start questioning, like, what is going on with other people's drama, and just a bunch of stuff. And so we weren't traveling as much. We weren't getting as many shows. So I wanted to go back to public school, because I was kind of done being homeschooled, and we were doing like one show a month. So I was like, this isn't really worth it. And I kind of wanted to be around girls my own age, to be honest. Like,
well, for sure.
Yeah. So when I remember I had to have like a long discussion with her in her office as to why I don't want to be in the Straightway team before. And it was just like her trying to convince me to, no, y'all are the future and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, hey, no, I don't really want to be totally into this anymore. This isn't working.
Dude, you're creeping me out here. Oh my God.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
She, you know, just now that these past few years, just looking back on stuff now, I'm realizing a lot more things. And as more people are coming out about stuff, I'm going, holy crap, that's kind of sexual harassment.
Yeah.
So she would, okay, first we're talking about the second daughter of the pastor, who pretty much is well known. She's been having about a 20-year affair with the elder in the church. We kind of know this because it was caught on camera in the front office.
I
and
didn't
it's
know
pretty,
that.
yeah, it's become now I'm not going to
I gotta get that footage.
yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say this is 100% true. I have not physically seen this with my own eyes, but let's just say a lot of people have always suspected. Supposedly it was caught on camera. So this person is that I'm pretty sure has been having an affair with the elder in the church, and then is like going on the road and doing stuff with these young boys, like you said, but just also like, she was just like that. Like she would, the way that she would play with you, the way that she would like come across with you, like, so we would have to massage her. The ones that would massage her were me and Raquel. And like, so I'm like, why did I freaking oh, it's, I will never forget this one time. She would be like, cause we would dance, like we would work out and we would dance. So we were dancing, 4 assemblies a day. And so we would get sore. So she was like this one time, I'm so sore, but I'm so sore, like right here,
Yeah.
For anybody listening, it's like right on the chest. I really worked my chest today, So I'm going, crapping. And me and Raquel are like, who's gonna massage her this time? 1, 2, 3, like, and so I end up doing it. And back then, how naive we were. I never kissed anyone. I had never had sex. Like we were gonna wait till marriage and everything. And I didn't know what like sexual attention was. I didn't know what the feeling of what that was inside of you. And so I'm massaging her, right? She's like, can you go lower? And I'm like, is this okay? Like what is going, literally, okay, at the time she didn't have her boobs. Like she got a boob job, whatever, but at the time she didn't have her boobs.
That's gonna come up later. Because that relates to a story I have later, but yeah.
So she's like, oh, can you go down lower and lower? I swear to God, I was almost like pretty much touching her nipple. Like it was just, look, I had to be 15, 16. She had to be in her 20s. And just like now that I look back, I'm going so inappropriate. And she would like jump in the shower with other girls.
Yeah.
The excuse she would give to the other girls of jumping in the shower. By the way, we were staying in hotel rooms. She would say we need we need to conserve water. We're at a hotel, bitch. What the like I never let her get in the shower with me. I'm like, that's too far. You need to get to Stepson,
Yeah.
But yeah, just like very inappropriate. Like looking back now, like why did we like? But I mean, we were so sheltered and so naive to stuff. It was just God. But I guess she's still like that because the people that I've recently talked to that have recently left over the past few years has said that stuff is still going on. So I'm just like, Jesus. And people only knew because she comes across as this most spiritual, like, holier than thou person serving God, but yet all this other stuff is going on. But yeah, did you have anything else to add to that with like?
No, I can. So I left the Straightway team, but the next year, I started doing part-time. So I was in public school, and then the next year I started doing just part-time whenever they needed me. And that's when a lot of people like you and some other people had left. And so they were just kind of putting together whoever for a Straightway team. And she started driving the van. And I remember, she started driving the van. And I remember while she would be driving, she would have me or Crawford like massage her, like exactly how you decide, and it was like, oh, just go lower. Like, oh, I just need somebody to help me. And just really, really played into us touching her, like it was an honor for us to massage her. No, honestly, there was definitely a sense of grooming. There was a grooming process going on. And I was too young to know it at the time, obviously, but now looking back in my adulthood, yeah, no, there was definitely a grooming process going on between me and a few other people.
Wow. Man, it's crazy. Just some of the things going on. So after you get out and you start going to school and stuff, what were there, I guess outside of Straightway and everything, were there other red flags going on?
Yeah, my oldest sister got pregnant, just like a normal young person, just got pregnant. And it became this huge deal about my sister living in sin and not living the straight way and didn't want to live up to David's standards. And it became just this big deal. And even like they somehow coerced my parents into like wanting to get rid of my sister out, from the center. And there wasn't a lot of support. And I remember the day, for some reason, it had to be announced in the middle of a church service.
I remember the service.
Yeah, so weird. My dad, well, Stacey's pregnant. So brash. And it's like, you could have just not have said anything and had like a small meeting about it. But
yeah.
So yeah, my sister's business is on full blast, and a lot of people just like stopped talking to her. A lot of people, and her and a few other people worked at the Walmart in the next town over, and they weren't allowed to speak to her, communicate with her. And your older sister's pregnant and she's depressed because all these people she cares about just are being told to not associate themselves with her. And I could see the physical toll it was taken on her. She does say that you were one of the few people that would reach out and express that you still want to be friends, and that you cared about her. So I know that meant a lot to her, that when you did that.
I do feel bad that I would go into the Walmart though and kind of be a bitch. Like I would that was the time when Raquel Care, they all worked there, and I wouldn't talk to them because we were told not to. I kind of did that to Stacy, but I would also like sneak back because she worked in the photo lab. And I would kind of sneak back there and try to talk to her while nobody was looking. But that was kind of towards the end of me, like, or I'm sorry, the beginning of me starting to think things were kind of crazy. And that's kind of like where I started to begin. And like, so it was a couple years later that I ended up leaving. But yeah, I just didn't understand. I was like, first Raquel and Curie leave, and I couldn't talk to them, and then Stace like. And I'm just like, what is going on here? My friends that I've grown up with my whole life, and Stacy, who I know, who I've become good friends with, I just can't, it makes no sense. Why can't we speak? Just because, and I felt bad too, that she's pregnant. She probably needs support and help and everything.
Yeah.
But,
there were so many things about like, you're not allowed to speak to that person. Like I'd be hanging out with somebody, another young person at the center, and then the pastor's family, made a big deal, like, you shouldn't be talking to that person. I'm like, well, they live here and they're cool and they're nice, and they're on a wrong path, not glorifying God. And it was just like, it's so, after so many people, you just start to question, like, how are all these people that grew up here so bad? Like, why? It was really bizarre. And yeah, like around that time, people like you and a few other married couples had left, and it was so bad. Like looking at the Blue Chapel and how empty it was. And this is like 2007 to about 2010 when, it was just so empty. Like hardly anybody in the church service, hardly anybody in the praise and worship band. And it just, my family also moved to Sugar Land, so like 45 minutes from Hungerford. And so we would drive from Sugar Land to go to Hungerford, and it just was very unmotivating. Like, you want to be part of I've heard you describe like I just wanted to be part of like a ministry or some sort of outreach, or do missionary work or something inspiring, to match your beliefs. And this church that we're a part of is just falling apart in every corner. And that really sucked, having to go to those church services one Sunday after another and just sit there. And I just became numb to it. I will say one of the things that kind of kept my my spirits up was the youth group that was going on associated with the church. The youth pastor at the time was just a very charismatic guy. He really got me involved with like acting and improv, and he kind of set me on my path. So I owe it to him a lot for just keeping my spirits up and, you know, keeping me grounded, because like I had given up on the eldership and, you know, the center and all that. Like I really was just there to be a part of the youth group for at that point.
Were you going through depression at that time?
Yeah, at the time, I was going through a bunch of stuff, not being able to relate to anybody. Like I had this story and this association with this group, and all of a sudden they're just kind of letting me down. And like I'm going to public school, and it's like you want to invite people to your church or your youth group and see what you're about, but it kind of became embarrassing. To want to, yeah, like, hey, come drive an hour south of here and come to this country town. And it was very weird. And like I said, more and more people were leaving, and it just became prevalent that this just was not the same thriving organization that we initially wanted to be a part of, you know?
Yeah, for sure. You know, you think that you're going to be a part of something great, and then you end up finding out all this other stuff and other things are going on in the background. You know, were your parents like still, I don't really remember at this time, were they still fully like wanting to go and everything, or were they?
Yeah, well, I think my mom had an excuse that she had to work on Sundays and Wednesdays, so she got off easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, my dad very much, you know, just despite all the drama and stuff happening, you know, just wanted to believe the best, and, you know, it's under the blood, and, you know, Christians forgive, and we need to stick together. And yeah, he was very much plagued. And yeah, I just feel like if I could kind of rewind a little bit to my time on the Straightway team, like I remember one year I, for the summer, went and worked with my uncle. And when I came back at the end of the summer, there was like some pancake breakfast raffle that we needed to like sell tickets for or something like that. And I just got, the pastor's daughter just like was giving me crap about like, where have I been all summer? Like, why haven't you been serving, and where have you been? And I was like, I'm doing normal stuff with my family in Austin. And so all of a sudden they leave us at like Walmart or Sam's Club, and we're like selling these raffle tickets to a pancake breakfast, almost like The Office when the Michael Scott Paper Company has the pancake breakfast that they're doing. We were doing something like that. And I just feel like I was exploited. Like we would be out there for hours and hours, just like, hey, can I interest you in these tickets to a pancake raffle? The winner wins a free video iPod. And just for hours and hours. And
were you like embarrassed? Were you embarrassed doing that?
I was, because it was like, I joined this team because I wanted to be like performing and ministering and in, you know, working with other young people around the state or even the country, because at that point we were doing shows in other states. And it was like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we selling tickets? I didn't know that there was a lot of financial troubles going on. Like a lot of the people on the Straightway team stopped getting paid. What was it, like $25 a month or something like that? They stopped paying.
I mean, at my time, I think we were getting like $50 a week or like 100 every 2 weeks. It was something to that extent. I mean, it wasn't very much. But it's so funny that you bring that up. I don't know if you were on the team when we were doing this, but they made us panhandle. Now, if anybody knows anything about panhandling, I would be so embarrassed. They would take a group of us. I mean, there had to be like 10 to 15 of us. It was all of us girls, and then, you know, some of the guys. So us girls are standing out there with like signs and like shorts and like in Houston, and high traffic Houston, like on Westheimer or something, and just like holding up these signs, and like the guys are like honking at us and everything of support our missionary work. We're going to Europe. Support our missionary. And they would make us panhandle all day long, and then like we couldn't get back in the van or something till we made a certain amount of money, or we had to make sure we had a certain amount of money before we came back. It was just like, and like that money, like where did that go?
Exactly.
I don't freaking know. Did that actually go to the mission trip? Who freaking knows? That could have went to DK's pills, you know? Who knows?
Yeah,
I
and
still
that was
can't
around
believe-
the time that they were building the house, around my time. And that was so bizarre. That whole process of doing first fruits and taking out money for the house. And even after the house was built, I remember him going up in front of the church and be like, oh, you know, it's really not done. You know, really need another bigger TV and some more sound equipment. And it's
That's
really
what-
not done. And it
That's
was
what
like,
David
dude,
said.
David, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, dude, the house is fine. You don't need any more stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And
I
it's like
mean,
you have other families struggling, living in mobile homes,
mhm.
with large amounts of kids and stuff like that. And here you are worrying about your sound equipment for your house, your surround sound, you know? It just was
Exactly.
bizarre.
Like, yeah, people, I mean, couldn't feed their freaking young kids, but yet they needed to give $50 more for DK to have his sound equipment.
Yeah, and they would pressure us. They would like call you out and like, you know, you need to give. Like, this is part of God's process. Like, this is, you know, this is heaven. This is where it is. You know? Like, just over and over. Like, it was really weird because all of a sudden, like, my family wasn't in the program or anything like that, but like they would write me and my siblings up, like give us like the merits and stuff like that.
Okay, let me just explain this real quick. So students that were in the rehab part of it, they would get, I may have already said this, but they would get these demerit slips, and they were these like pink or red slips. And to go with that, you either had to memorize a certain amount of scriptures, or you had to do like work. Meaning, like you had to go do yard work, you had to do whatever kind of work it was. Well, they started giving these demerit slips to other people outside the program. So I guess you guys got some.
Yeah. It was this piece of paper and it said, don't say it, write it up. And I remember that becoming a big joke for us. Like, don't say it, write it up.
Oh my God, I'm gonna say that to y'all like all the time now. Why do you remember at all why you got wrote up?
Oh, well, the first time it happened, this lady in the church who, she just, plain and simple, she just had a lot of money. So they tolerated her and they let her, like, they gave her power. Just because she had a lot of money and she'd give a lot. So she just would, if she didn't like you or she felt like you needed to be disciplined or written up, she would definitely do it. And so the pastor's dog, Champ, that was his name, the dog, broke loose from the cage and was running around the center. And there was an incident where a few months prior, he bit a little girl, Steve and Pamela's little girl. And it was like a big deal. Like, if this happens again, I'm going to put that dog down. So the dog gets out and, you know, I just see it. So I'm trying to do the right thing and just catch this dog and get the leash and put it back. You know, I don't know where anybody else is. Well, the dog is just running all over the campus and then eventually makes its way into the basketball court. And there's like little kids playing and stuff like that. And so I get written up for chasing and leading the dog into the basketball court, even though I was the only one trying to catch the dog. She didn't understand, but yeah, wrote me up and I like was grounded for a few days. And then for some reason, my dad made me go ask her forgiveness. I don't know why. Yeah, weird.
So weird.
And then like my sisters would be put in these counseling sessions and just being like put through the ringer, like just like over an hour, just like being talked down to. And they're just like normal teenage girls. Like, it was bizarre. So around the time, like 2008 to 2010, like I said, more and more people started leaving, and my only motivation was the youth group. And then that became really weird because the pastor's family, like somehow got the youth pastor to be more on their level and more, not so much for us youngsters, but just kind of he saw things the way they saw it, you know? And so it's like, I no longer had that leader, that, you know, person I could trust or talk to, you know, confide in. You know, it was like, oh, anything I have to say to him, you know, is probably going to be sent up, you know, up the ladder.
He's gonna tell DK everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
so
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what makes me like, they were another couple that came to the center just to like be a part of the church part of it. And when they originally came, they were just like a freaking breath of fresh air, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love them.
For me anyways, you know, when you're constantly being talked down to and just told you aren't serving enough, you weren't doing this enough, they came and they like, I had no confidence, zero confidence there. I felt like I was like going to hell constantly or something, because I was always pulled into counseling or whatever it was. And but they came and they were actually like encouraging and just like, you know, you can make something of your life, you know, you can be someone, and they just like encourage you to be better. And like, I feel like if it wasn't for them, I might still, I don't know. I think they were just a godsend at the time. And then maybe, I'm sure they went through some things there themselves as time went on and everything, but you know.
Yeah, no, they were definitely an encouragement. And like, I remember right before he took over as youth pastor, there was just nobody doing anything for the youth group or the teenagers. And I remember you like organized like a Christmas, New Year's dance for the teens at the time. I don't know if you remember that.
I did?
Yeah, you did.
Wait, I did?
You did. It was totally you. You were like, hey, if we just all like donate like $3, we could have a party. And yeah.
Why don't I remember this?
It might have been, it seriously probably was like right before you left. But I promise you were the one that orchestrated that party.
Was it in the Blue Chapel?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have to talk about this after.
I think it was a costume party also. It was like dress up as your celebrity. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I have pictures of this. We'll talk about this after.
Okay.
I need to know more details.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. I feel like my memory is just like, there are some things I so remember, and then other things like that, I'm like, what? I have no memory of that or whatever. So you guys are you are going to school and stuff.
Yeah, we're getting a little older, and some of us in the youth group really just started tuning out of the church, and like we were just going through the motions at that point. Like we just wanted to live our lives as teenagers, and we had friends outside the center, or whether it was Wharton or Sugar Land. So we just really were not into the spirit of this inclusive bunch at the center. Like we just kind of wanted to be normal at that point. So I remember them getting on to us about not entering in, you know, do not enter in unless you enter in. And why we weren't entering in the praise and worship, you know, we were just like standing there, and they wanted us to be praising. And I remember one time the youth pastor and then the pastor's second oldest daughter and oldest daughter were talking to us about like just faking it until you make it. You know, if you just fake it till you make it, the Holy Spirit will enter you, and then you will feel it, and then you will. But in reality, it was all about appearances. They just wanted the young people to look like they were all pepped up, just so maybe other guests and other people would be like, oh, you know, this place is good. But just nobody was feeling it anymore. And so we like just normal teenagers like start like partying and like stuff like that. And so that went on for a couple months with nobody finding out or no trouble or anything. But then somebody got in trouble and then like snitched everybody out. And I remember at that point, there was just 3 of the pastor's children living in the house because some of them had moved or went off to college. And there was some incident about the cops getting called out to the family's house. And I guess his wife was like, they were just under the influence and trying to discipline them, and it was noticeably crossing the line. And the stepson tried to stand up, and essentially the cops got called out because there was like a domestic issue, but they completely lied. They were just like, oh, those kids, they're in a rebellious state, they're potheads, they're you know, this and that. But in reality, like, they were the belligerent ones crossing the line and completely lied. And I remember they talked about it to the youth group because it needed to be addressed. Like, why were there police cars at the pastor's house? And we got some fluffed up reason as to why, and you know, we just really need to pray for them and blah blah blah. And it's just like, what is going on? Like, we would just hear more and more situations like that.
Who called the cops?
I
mean, you don't.
Caleb called the cops, but on behalf of him and Faith. So him and Faith were the ones being disciplined, and yeah.
Jeez. So they were some of the a little bit of the younger ones.
But it completely got turned to, oh, they're living in a state of sin and they're in rebellion. But like, dude, like, she's got marks on her. Like, she's getting really disciplined. And I would hear through the grapevine that, like, if you did something heinous and you needed to get spanked, that they would make you like pull your underpants down and you'd have to get spankings with your pants down, even if you were a girl. And I just remember thinking how bizarre that was. Like, you're 15, 16, 17 years old and you're still getting spankings like that.
Yeah.
You know?
My last spanking was, I was 15 or 16 and I had to pull my pants down. I was so mortified. It's like scarred me to this day. Like, and I don't doubt that because that was the discipline in almost every household there. That was the way it was. So I don't doubt if like they were being disciplined like that as well, which I've heard in that household, it got pretty rough. Yeah. Man.
So around.
What if I'm sorry, do you know what the cops ended up doing? Was anything?
From what they told the stepson was like, well, when you're 18, you can move out, because he was about to turn 18. But essentially.
Spanked at 17?
Yeah, exactly.
At that point, aren't you? Okay. Wow. Oh my goodness.
But his daughter, they sent her off to some teen challenge in another state for like almost a whole year. So right after that incident, they sent her off to teen challenge. And so I didn't see her until like 2010, a whole another year. And yeah, like it was weird. And, you know, we're being told, oh, you know, she just needs discipling and, you know, we need to pray for her and this and that. But no, it's just because nobody wanted to be part of y'all's thing anymore. Like this whole mindset of the Kirschkis are the shit and the center is awesome and Straightway team is cool. Like, we were so over it at that point, because all of our friends that were older, like you or anybody else, had left, and like we still wanted to love them and be part of like people's lives, and y'all are making us not associate with them. And I remember when, so the assistant pastor's family, they were going through Stepson's family, they were going through some troubles with the eldership. And when they finally left and cut ties, and I found out about it, I remember finding out about it and being concerned, like, oh, these are awesome people that I've known since I was like 11 and a bright family that I like, and they're not here. And, you know, you care. But I remember the stepson, Caleb, was just, oh man, they're messed up. They got problems. They're messed up. Yeah, they're not good. They're messed up. And I just remember feeling how I felt it in my stomach, how wrong that was, because I didn't feel that way about them. I liked that family. I was friends with them. And I remember the Indiana Jones movie, the fourth Indiana Jones movie came out, and we wanted to all go see it. And so there were some of us that were still associated with the center, and then some of us that weren't. And I remember after the movie, we were talking about things, and someone had mentioned something about like, oh yeah, they're a cult, like one of the people that had left. And that was the first time me putting the term cult to that hit me. Like, I never considered that. And so things started to make sense there. But yeah, when that family left, I was concerned. And to be completely honest, my dad even kind of said the same thing, and it kind of made me sad at the time. He was just like, well, we're no longer associated with them. They don't want to associate with our connection with God and this place, and so we're not going to associate with them. And I just remember thinking, like, you've known these people since you were in your early 20s, and here you are in your middle age, just so ready to cut them off just because DK says so. And that was around the time I started to mentally check out, where in my head I knew this wasn't my future, that as soon as I turn 18, I'm going to figure something out. Like my sister, she went off to Texas State. My other sister moved. And so at that point, I had realized that this wasn't going to be my future.
Yeah. What did, so I guess around that time, was there something that finally made y'all want to get out, or kind of open your parents' eyes, or?
Well,
because didn't well, okay, first I know that, well, your older sister left before you guys did, and then the younger sister went to college, and so you guys were kind of still there. So did y'all leave around the same time?
A few, maybe like a year or two after.
Okay.
But yeah, so I guess my family and the Kershkis were still like going out to Lake Conroe and whatnot, and this is right when what's her name had the boob job, and so we're in Lake Conroe, and at this point I am 18. So I'm 18. I'm actually out of high school, so like I'm still associated with them, but like my family hasn't fully connect ties. But like I would still, because I was friends with all the siblings and whatnot. And so that was actually always a thing not to say anything about her, was that like I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't think she needed to get in trouble, but also I was kind of scared like what some of the brothers would think, because I was friends with them, you know. So that is kind of what made me stay silent. But see, that was all when I was like 13, 14. At this point, I'm 18. And like I'm starting to date and have normal teenage experiences and just living high school life. But I've already moved on. And then she gets the boob job, and she's just like you said, just so showy about everything. And it's like nobody cares. Like we're dating girls our own age, like you're attention whore. But yeah, so we're all in the hot tub, and she's just like sprawled out, like giving me that same look that she gave me when I was like 14, just kind of like trying to show off. And I just remember I was like, okay, let's get away from this bitch. And then there was another time she gave me just the most awkward side hug. We show up to the house and we get out of the car, and she's like, oh, Scotty, blah, 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 just annoying voice. And she comes up to me, and I don't try to like reciprocate a hug back. I'm just kind of like, whatever. But she still comes up to me and like edges in a side hug, even though like I don't want to hug her. My hands are in my pockets. I don't want to touch her. I don't want her to touch me. I don't want to be around her, but she's still just like, Yeah. And then she had some sort of fitness boot camp going on, something. And I had just lost a whole bunch of weight, because I was always kind of a chunky kid, but when I was 18, I lost a bunch of weight, and I was like feeling good about myself. And then she completely put me down, like, oh, you could look better if you did my fitness program over the summer. And I just remember thinking, what the hell? Like, that's so rude. Like, that's just so basically rude. Like, I'm here feeling good about myself, and like I've lost all this like weight, and then just completely like, oh, you know what? You would look better for me if you did my program. It's just like things like that. That was when I was old enough to know right from wrong. So I knew that something was up with her. And so yeah, and then my dad is the prior years I was getting his archaeology year after year. It was developing, and so he'd go to Israel every December. And then somewhere along the line, DK convinced him that he needed to be there, and my dad needed DK, and so he would take up these offerings in the middle of the church. And at this point, the church isn't even in Hungerford, it's in Rosenberg at some hotel.
I remember that. I think I wasn't there anymore, but I remember that. Just
this small rundown hotel with a conference room, and we had to just play pretend that we're in the city bringing in new people to our thing. And It was so annoying. But yeah, almost like a raffle ticket person, or like a lottery person, like, who's gonna donate money? I need DK. Can I get $100 from you? Can I get 100 from you? And it was so gross. Like, it was like, you don't really need DK. Like, and so, yeah, he does all this fundraising, and then the church banquet happens in December. And then the day after the banquet, I remember I heard my dad had DK on speaker, and I was in the living room and I could hear, he's like, oh, well, I just booked my flight to Israel. And it's like, okay, well, I'm sure all that money you got from the banquet, you know, definitely helped. So they go off to Israel, and my sister actually at that point had, she was going to go on a trip with her friend to Israel and just, you know, absorb the Holy Land and do my father's archaeology and whatnot. But then who shows up the same day she does is DK. And he's like trying to like supervise her. For some reason, he feels like he has to supervise her. And she's like 21, 22 at this point. Well, sure enough, it turns into a full-on vacation for DK. He's slamming shots, and they're just getting wasted. And, you know, there's videos on YouTube you could find of all that, of them in Israel. But
So
back in the States.
Oh, just real quick, I'm sorry, side note. So I think I'm going to try to, if anybody's listening to this, I'm going to try to attach the video that we're talking about to this under on this video set.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you see a video clip underneath, that's what that is. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, there's two of them. Yeah.
So okay, sorry.
No, we were starting to hear back through like Facebook and messages like, oh my God, DK is being ridiculous. And we were just like, what is going on? And then every day it was like worse, like, and like, we just knew there was drama going on. Well, sure enough, my sister arrives early and she tells us everything, like just he was acting belligerent. And my sister's friend, her dad had passed earlier that year. And so they went to this like prayer service in Israel. And it was a very emotional thing for her to just, you know, recover. And she just was really going through it. And then DK is like, oh, hey, this place is going to close in 2 hours. So we need to go, you know, we're going to drink and get food and like interrupting her like prayer. And it's like, dude, this is why she's here. Like, they're not here to hang out with you, DK.
My God.
And so, yeah, he's just like harassing these young girls in their 20s and acting ridiculous. And so finally, when everyone comes back to the States, we tell my mom, and my mom is so unhappy, like to the point where she was ready to give my dad the ultimatum, like, hey, we can't deal with this. Like, it's either us, the family, or like him. Like, nobody wants to be associated with this organization anymore. Like, and then so they have like some light meeting. And so DK gives all these reasons like, oh, you know, I don't drink and blah, 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 blah. I don't get drunk. And
oh my, yeah.
I know, just so completely in denial. And so they essentially work out an agreement. Okay, what happened in Israel happened in Israel. We'll leave it, everybody will forgive each other. We're going to leave it alone and move on. And so, as my family did, but DK around the center kept telling people, oh, if you hear this about from the striplings, and he kept talking about it and kept perpetuating it. And he just wouldn't stop. And so my dad had to tell him, David, stop. Like, we already agree, we don't need to be talking about this. Like, we've already put it aside. And he just wouldn't let it go. Like, he needed to be he didn't like that we stood up to him and we didn't subside to his narrative, that we had our view of what happened and we knew what happened, that we weren't just like, oh, okay, yeah, if what you said is what happened, that's how it is. He just completely wanted to control the narrative. And so, sure enough, my dad told him, okay, like, you need to stop this. Like, this isn't helping anybody. And my dad got an email, a phone call and an email saying, you know, you're not wanting to submit to the pastor, and you need to be let go from the eldership, and this isn't that. This isn't going to work. So they were the ones, they, I guess, cut ties with us. So yeah, even though, so technically speaking, my family was still willing to play ball and like, you know, still work it out, but they didn't like that. In our heads, we knew the true narrative of him being belligerent in Israel, that we wouldn't just shut up about it. And luckily I was able to asked my friend at the time, the pastor Stepson, he recorded DK bad mouthing my sister and still talking about everything. So that was like definitive proof that we could show my dad. And then yeah, everything happened. And it was really hard because at the time, and I've heard you say this before, that there was a lot of people there that I cared about, like a lot of nice people that were at the center, a lot of good people. And the fact that I was just straight up cut off and from everything, that was rough. And then the youth pastor, I wanted to reach out to the youth pastor and try and talk everything through. And yeah, no, he essentially was saying, I'm not going to get involved. And he kind of let me down, you know, and, you know, I've forgiven him and, you know, we're cool now, but at the time that was the most depressing thing. I think that really, really started my depression was all these people, whether it was the lead, what's her name? Leader of the Straightway team, the youth pastor, all these different people were just letting me down that, you know, I once believed in them, and here they are just so ready to not believe me. And, you know, I'm telling the truth, and that was rough.
Yeah, for sure. So DK, I mean, so right after the Israel thing, so he's lying. I'm sorry to just go back real quick. He's telling everyone else in the church one thing while you guys know the truth.
Yeah.
So he's lying about this, and he I'm sorry, just the thing with your sister and stuff. I don't remember if she was saying that they pulled her into counseling or something, and he was telling them like how dare she come against the way she tells a story is really
how
funny.
Dare you? Yeah. I'm being crucified on the cross. Like I know for sure he said that.
And that like I'm in the lineage of King David
and
all that
like
stuff.
Dude.
Just like you're coming against the Lord's anointed. And then
I've never been drunk before. Like what?
Well, we got it on video, Creed.
Exactly.
Okay? You know.
There was also, if you don't mind me backtracking a little bit, right before that, his daughter ran away, and
this was the youngest daughter, right?
Youngest daughter ran away, and I was actually at the house the night before she ran away, and I knew that it was going to happen, and like she wanted my help, and I didn't help because I didn't want to get in any trouble. But somehow one of the other older sisters is like, well, I know her and Scotty are close, so let's ask him. And it became this thing of somehow DK got my dad to come down on me. Like, if I find out that you are withholding information about where she is, you are completely cut off. And it's like, you're going to cut me off from the family? Like, just because it's DK's family drama, you're going to affect me and our family?
Wait, your dad said that to you? Like
to me.
Cut you out of the family?
Yeah, in the middle of the WCJC cafeteria, in between classes, I'm here getting chewed out, and I was so upset. Because it's just like their drama, their family business has to just affect everybody else. And I'm sorry to backtrack. It's just that was one thing that happened before we left. That was just another straw of drama and crap coming our way. And I remember one day I was in between classes at WCJC. I was smoking a cigarette, and I get a call from Becky saying, hey, there's a Straightway show. Can you come? Can you help? And I'm like, hey, I got midterms. I'm in school studying and working. I can't just do that. And she's like, can you get your professors to like she kept nagging, like, can you just try and get your professors? It's like, I'm in college full time. And you want me to drop everything in the middle of midterms to go do a show, a Straightway show? It's just like one thing after another. And then, yeah, then they go to Israel and everything happens. And it was really hard those first couple months. And then the next following years, so I never cut off my friendship from the stepson. And he really affected me those following years because, you know, he grew up there from like since he was 2-3 years old. And so he's very much a product of them, you know, he's very much one of the family and has all the negative attributes of the family. And don't get me wrong, like there's a few of them, like his older sister that left, and you know, they're great and I got nothing problem, but there's a few of them that are a little freaking crazy and ruining people's lives. And yeah, he definitely had he just would keep, whether it was mentally, physically, financially, he was abusive to me, my family, other friends. He just would run through people like he would just use and abuse people like, and you know, you want to believe the best because it's your friend. You think, oh, they want to leave the center also. People can change. But, you know, it's like when you see somebody after a long time and it's like, oh, they've changed, they're doing good. And, you know, but some people get worse. Some people change and they get worse. And it took me a while to realize that for him is that this dude's changing and he's getting worse.
Man.
And that's a whole other podcast I could talk about him. But yeah, the stepson.
Man.
Yeah. And from what I hear, you have learned some things also, but we don't have to go into any of that.
About him?
Yeah.
There's some things I know now that I
a lot of heinous, disgusting, perverted things. And you know what? I knew it at the time. Well, first of all, that whole family's got a spirit of perversion, like without a doubt, all of them. Okay, not all, but
not all of them. And
I shouldn't say that.
Let me just say real quick, you know, like you said, it is not all of the kids. The few older ones are the ones that really like have affected other people and have done horrible things to other people. Now, some of the other kids have left. A lot of the other kids have left, and they don't want to like really associate with them or their dad. And they're good people. You know, they have good hearts. And they went through things themselves when they were kids with how they were disciplined by DK and everything. So it's hard to put, you know, into, because I, like you, I was friends with some really close friends with a lot of them. So I know, and I still currently know a couple of them, but yeah, it's just to, you know, like you said before, like some of the people there do have really good hearts. It's just, you get stuck in that thing, but.
Yeah. And so I've always, whenever the following years, you know, I'd open up to people and be like, yeah, you know, I was in a cult. They would ask questions and get really soft and, oh, you know, and I'm like, hey, no, like you can ask me questions. It's not like a sensitive subject. Like I'll talk about it. And the way I describe it to people is like you have a circle and then you have an inner circle. So the outer circle is everybody like you and me and the youth pastor, everybody that has genuine love of people and God and just good spirited people, talented people, bright, happy people. And so that's what attracts you into this organization. And then just slowly but surely you get to see the inner circle of people of who's really pulling strings and causing drama and coming down on people. And it became pretty obvious what was going on. All the culty, when I look back, all the cultish attributes are all there, you know?
Yeah, it's all, you know, it took me about, I mean, even when I left, the first few years after I left, I never really thought of it as a cult. I thought of it just more as like a Christian, non-denominational, really strict place that went crazy or something to that extent.
Yeah.
And now these past few years, I'm like, oh my God, it's a cult. Like it has all the attributes, you know, there's the power, you submit to one person, there's the money where we all build his house. There's just so many things that are like, this is a little cray, little cray.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of have like the final red flag and everything. You leave, but I guess you were already moved out. You had already moved to the
on
Houston
campus.
area and everything. And so yeah, so like nobody really I guess after y'all left, nobody really had association with y'all. Huh?
Yeah, nobody. So it just, you know, we were back to square one. And luckily I had a decent support system and friends outside Straightway, and you know, I had my family, you know, was a good support system. But and I've heard you describe this before. When things in your life start to become negative or bad, or you start having things happen to you, the paranoia of, oh, I'm not under the blessing, is, am I being affected because I did cut ties? That whole idea, if you leave the center, you know, you're under God's umbrella, and you know, the world and all the sin and negative things of the world are going to affect you. And so anytime things would happen, whether it was financial problems or just like depression, there was that paranoia in my head that like, is this because everything, like, is that true? Like, it took years for me to let that go. Like, I was still like kind of believing that, like.
Yeah, for sure. It takes, you know, especially when you're there for that extended time, your brain is so associated and all this that it takes time to kind of get out of that mindsetting. And yeah, I mean, you do without even trying to, your brain just goes there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, man, damn it, I don't want to think like that, but it's just I can't help that it's going there, you know?
Yeah.
Thankfully, now that, I mean, it took some time, but I don't think that anymore at all. Gosh, I think I've been out for like 15 years now. I can't believe it. Wait, 10 to 15, we'll say. Okay, 10 to 15.
Because it's about 11 years for me and my family. So
it's crazy how I've just have been hearing lately, just been hearing story after story, and not just like with people that I'm having on. I'll have people messaging me that I don't even know, like telling me their story, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Just things that are kind of funny to things that are just horrific that I'm going, I don't know how to deal with this. Like, you know what I mean? It's beyond my frame of reference or whatever.
Man, this one time, when this is throwing it back to like 2005, I'm in their home watching like a movie with the sons and whatnot, and DK comes out of his room and like his robe is like open, like he's fully exposed, and like
wait, everything is showing, or he's in his underwear?
No, everything is showing.
Like everything.
But he's got the door open, but he's still like leaning out the door, like I'm right there, I could see. And I remember like my expression was like, but then like his sons were completely like, hey, we're all guys, like it's cool, we're all guys, you know. Well, and I'm like, okay, like,
was he weird. Wait, was he coming in the room, or was he just like kind of?
He opened his room into the living room. This is their first house, not the second house. So their master bedroom, the door opens and it's just the family living room. And he's just like leaning out the door with all of his business. And like, I was like, oh, okay. But then my mind, I believed what they said. Like, oh, you know what? Yeah, we are all guys. It's cool. Yeah, you know. Never once did I. It wasn't until years later I was like, that was fucking weird.
Yeah, you know? Right.
My dad doesn't do things like that, you know?
Yeah, that's a little strange. Yeah, I remember kind of stuff like that where like the second daughter, like I would stay the night with them sometimes, and she would be in her room, but like just in like short shorts, and her at the time she didn't have boobs, so I guess it wasn't a huge deal. I had boobs, but she would be like in this little bra thing and little short shorts, basically like underwear and bra. And then her dad would come in and just start talking. I'm going to myself, I'm like, I'm a teenager. She's like almost like in her 20s, I think. I'm like, he's just talking to her and she's like in her underwear. I felt very weird. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said,
mean, my dad never, I would like,
spirit going on.
Yeah, if my dad ever came in when I was like screaming, get out of here. Maybe they were just a family that was used to seeing each other nude or something. I don't know.
Well, here's the deal, is that when our families would go on vacation with each other, we would have fun times. And, you know, my parents weren't big drinkers, but all of a sudden now my parents are drinking regularly. And when they would come back and we'd be watching like Disney Channel or like some movie, he'd be like, oh yeah, you know, we don't let them watch that. And so all of a sudden he's dictating what me and my siblings are watching. Like, we can't watch Lizzie McGuire because blah, 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 blah. Like, are you serious? Like,
That is of the devil, Scotty. We can't watch Power
damn you, Hillary
Rangers.
Duff.
We cannot watch, you know, it is of the devil. Oh my goodness. Well, I think we're over an hour now, but
Okay.
I just want to thank you so much for coming on and everything. I know that it's not always easy to tell your story and everything, especially with some of the subject lines and all that. And just really want to thank you and everything. And
yeah, I just want to say one last thing. One of the big reasons I wanted to do this with you was just for all the unspoken voices that we haven't heard yet, all the friends that we have that are close to us that, you know, for one reason or another, and, you know, they don't want to share their story, which, you know, I respect that. That's fine, you know. But I know there are people that would like to, but just for one reason or another aren't. And so I'd like to be another person that contributes to the process of healing and, you know, just getting more information out there. So
yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, for sure. You definitely made me laugh. I'm glad I'm laughing and not crying, because some of these I start tearing up and crying, and I just want to go punch someone.
Tear up anytime I watch the first 2 seasons of The Office. I get really emotional because I think back to us traveling on the Straightway team, 2005, 2006, when those were on TV. So we'd do shows all day, come back to the hotel room, watch a new episode of The Office on TV. Yeah. And I just have a lot of nostalgia for that time period. So anytime I watch the first 2 seasons, I think of y'all and those times we had on the Straightway team. No, we did have a lot of good times, you know?
And that's one of my favorite shows. I'm like, I still watch it and laugh my freaking butt off. It's one of the best shows ever. I just want to let everyone know out there, you know, if anyone has a story to share or anything, you know, please feel free. I guess I'll give my email address out. I don't know. It's my name, CIA Garcia 83 at yahoo.com. And if you just kind of want to tell your story, whether you've been there where we came from, you don't have to be there if it's from another cult or some kind of situation that you are trying to get out of or whatnot. But yeah, I just want this to be just an encouragement to everyone, and just like just some kind of healing process that we can all start doing and becoming a part of. And yeah, thanks so much everyone for listening, and guess we're going out.
See ya.
Bye. Yeah.